Let's get back to our code and play around with gradients. We can actually use gradients to attach to whatever we are drawing onto the screen. There are three different types of gradients. There's linear gradient, radial gradient, and sweep gradient. Let's start with linear gradient. Yeah, I'm going to the top here. I'm going to say private linear gradient. There we go. Let's call this linear gradient. While we're here, I'm going to create radial gradient, private sweep gradient. You notice how smart our IDE is here. It kind of knows exactly what we're looking for. I like that. There we go. Let's start with our linear gradient. So I'm going to go inside of our init here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and instantiate gradients. The first one is going to be linear gradient. I'm going to go say it's equal to new linear gradient. And of course, we have to pass a few parameters inside of our constructor here. The first one is the x or origin. So essentially, where do we start the gradient? In this case, I'm going to go ahead and say 0. And where do we start in the y direction? 0. And then we have to pass in the next is going to be where does the gradient end, right? So let's say I want it to end 200x and about 200y. Okay, so the colors that we want to add, we can pass an array of colors, or we can just pass the first color. So use the second instantiation there. So I'm going to say the start color is going to be, let's say, red. I'm going to say color dot red, and the end color is going to be color dot black. I'm going to say tile mode clamp as such. Okay, there we go. There we go. So now that we have our linear gradient, we can actually attach it to our brush. Let's use this one here, the last one. Okay, I'm going to say brush set shader. That's that. I'm going to pass our shader, which is our linear gradient. All right. Let's save this and give it a quick run. And you can see, there we go. Now the problem here, let's make perhaps, because we can't quite see the actual gradient, let's go ahead and let's make our circle bigger. Maybe that will be, let's see, circle. I'm going to make a radius maybe 300. Okay, there we go. So it's big enough. Let's go back to our gradient where we're setting things up here to our gradient. And let's change this tile mode to something else. Let's use mirror. We're experimenting here and see what's going to happen. Ah, look at that. So the moment we change our shader tile mode to mirror, it mirrors, looks at what happens here. So this means the previous one, which was clamp, it just takes the black, everything looks black, right, in a circle. When we use the tile mode mirror, mirrors all of the colors, right? So we have red and black, if you look at, like I say, so it's red and black, kind of shades showing there. And if we change, let's see, what else can we change? Let's change it to perhaps repeat. Let's see what's going to happen. And there we go. So it repeats. So start this one and finish, and repeats this one and finish and repeats this one. Okay. Those are all these different shader tile mode types that we can actually use in our gradient. Okay. So we've used our linear gradient. Now let's go ahead and next use our radial gradient. What is that going to do? Instantiate here. Radial equal to new radial. The same deal. We have to pass a few parameters here. Let's say we want to start at 0 again. 0. And we want to add the float radius. Let's give it a radius of about 20. And the center color, let's give it color dot green as such. And for tile mode, we can pass null, but let's pass Let's go ahead and pass again clamp. So tap clamp like this. Say tile mode dot, let's say clamp for now. We need one more, which has to be so inner center. Let's pass another int here. Say color dot blue. Okay, there we go. So we have the center two colors that we have to pass. Okay, let's see how this is going to change our code. And I'm going to pass in now the radial instead of the linear. Save and see what's going to happen. Right, because it's clamp, it's all going to be one color. Now, if we change this to perhaps mirror, look at that. Right, so we have the blue, and then we have the green, blue, green, and so forth. If we go to repeat, let's see what's going to happen. Look at that, it just keeps repeating. Very nice. Okay, so you can see you can play around with these numbers, of course, if you want to see different results. And you can change the colors, and so the colors, and of course the shader. Okay, so we're getting there. We're just exploring here, just giving you some ideas of things you can do. A challenge for you now is I want you to create the last one, which is going to be the sweep gradient. And I also want you to go to our Android developer documentation here and search for sweep gradient and see things you can do with it. And I'm very positive and confident that you can do that. So go ahead and create an object, instantiate that sweep gradient, and add into our shader, figure out and then see the differences. Perfect. I'll see you next.